Some people tell me I'm like batshit crazy that I choose to love my clients like soul family. Like that's just a little too intimate, but I'm a fucking intimacy expert. And our client, sorry, it's kind of windy right now. I'm going to get the mail. My client, Lauri, is somebody who I instantly fell in love with. Oh my God, this woman is bravery incarnate. She keeps getting challenges. She keeps showing up. She keeps doing the work. She keeps becoming more and more embodied joy, embodied love by being willing to surrender, by being willing to feel. And this podcast it's intense. It's inspiring. And you will feel our love, our sisterhood. And it is the greatest privilege, honor. Like, how did I get so blessed to be able to go into dark spaces with this woman and find the light? She's extraordinary. Feel the energy behind her words and be inspired by what she says and apply it to your life. And let us know if you want your kitchen redone, because she creates these incredible sacred spaces in our homes. I cannot wait till I get to have a house again, all my own, and I get to call her and she gets to create my sacred sanctuaries. Enjoy. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. We're now in season 11, Soul Medicine. And today we're talking about anxiety, something a lot of us feel from time to time, or sometimes every day on some level, but really how that fear paralyzes intimacy. And I have with me today one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my cherished sisters and clients and friends, Lauri Youngblood. Laureen is her full name, but I call her Lauri. And she's going to have a great story to tell us about her journey with intimacy and opening her beautiful heart even more. And so let me first tell you more about her, because she's this epic interior designer. And she's also a seeker of wonder and magic. I think she's a bringer of wonder and magic as well. She brings her vision, though, and her imagination and years of experience in construction and showrooms to create a space that is sacredly yours. The oldest of 5 daughters. Can you imagine? I only had one sister. Lauri was born and raised in a very isolating and patriarchal religious environment, and she chose to walk away at the age of 19. And doing so required her to have the willingness to separate herself from her younger sisters, her family, and community. And this created a vacuum in her life, and it turned into a 12-year cycle of being lost in drug addiction and a cycle of abusive relationships. And she was rescued through the judicial system and given another chance to find herself at age 30. God, I got shivers as I'm reading this, honey. She has found her true calling in interior design, creating sacred spaces from which her clients can live their best life through a healthy and inspiring living environment. And she's been featured in the Living and Home section for her knowledge of materials used in interior architecture, residential projects. And over the past 4 years, the universe has given Lauri a series of life-changing events, even deeper and wider than the trauma of addiction and her abusive relationships in her youth. Back in July of 2019, her best friend was killed in a motorcycle accident. Barely finding her footing, Lauri started her deep work with me to coach her back into an intimate relationship with herself in January of the following year, 2020. But then a month later, asking the universe, I would like a better relationship and connection with my body, she had a rock climbing fall that resulted in 6 fractured bones in both legs, 9 days in the hospital, 3 surgeries, and 3 months in a wheelchair before the long road to recovery started. Continuing coaching, though, she found her inner truth and took what we call a space of grace from her relationship with her beloved. Continuing this journey of spiritual growth and true intimacy with herself and finding, her place in the world with me as her guide, Lauri deepened her understanding of how our physical environment informs every day of our life and the choices we make and how that affects our families, our health, and our overall life. And the universe continued to from Lauri's point of view, bless her, have faith in Lauri's strength and willingness to grow in spirit and in understanding when her 27-year-old daughter died unexpectedly of a drug overdose just this past October 2022, leaving Lauri her two young daughters of 2 years old and 6 years old to be raised collectively by their father, Laureen and Heather's father. Due to the work that both Lauri and her daughter's father had done over the course of the preceding 2 years in this space of grace, they have come back together to continue the joy of being in each other's lives as beloveds and parenting these two young granddaughters. Lauri still seeks to find the magic in the world and helps her clients to find that in their own environment. In her own words, quote, "You should be able to walk into your kitchen in the morning for your first cup of coffee and feel lifted up and be excited about your day and create meals with love and joy, and then find sanctuaries in your home that help you feel as if you were on vacation from the hectic world and find energy to do it again the next day and the next day." And this is her gift to her clients and to the world. I'm already ready to cry. So how are you?
I know. I've already started. Yeah, it's all good.
As my mom would say, shit, fuck, goddamn, bugger, damn. Fuck,
yes,
woman.
all of that.
All of that. You have been through it all. Where do you want to begin? What feels the ripest to begin sharing about?
I have to acknowledge that the recovery process from addiction, which I started at the age of 30, I got clean in 1998. And the work that you have to do to maintain that includes a lot of self-evaluation, self-examination, honesty, and the ability to share with somebody else. When I came upon you in late 2019, and I was so ready to take that to a completely different level.
Yeah.
And work with somebody that could take me that deep and that far past what I had already done.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
what's there.
That's how I came upon you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually
Tell them how you found me, because I remember the first time I met you, and I'm like, this woman knows me more than I know her. Who is this woman?
So I'm a huge Hal Elrod fan, and had been doing Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod since 2013, I think. And I had not made it to his Best Year Ever Blueprint event that he would hold every year. And so 2019 came, my best friend was killed in a motorcycle accident that July. And I was like, time's too short. I'm not wasting any more of it. It's time to get on the life wagon and really start moving forward. And so I signed up to go to his event. Well, in preparation for that, I started listening to his podcast every week before, and he was interviewing some of the people that were going to present, and you were one of them. And I just remember listening to you in that podcast going, oh, I like her. She's super cool. Oh my God, I cannot wait to hear her in person. This is going to be so awesome. Yeah. And when I went to the event, I was planning on hiring a coach for that year, but I was planning on hiring a business coach.
Yeah.
That was the thing. And then I went and I heard you present, and I was like, nope, no business coach. No, this is the coach I need. I need somebody that's going to take me really deep, help me really hit those spots where I avoid who I am, and help me to speak that truth with confidence and love, right? So
yeah.
And so yeah, so I couldn't wait. I was sitting behind you on Sunday. I was like, I couldn't wait.
I remember.
I gotta go talk to her. And so yeah, so I was like, I hit you up, and you were willing, and I was like, oh, universe is in my favor.
And the rest
always.
is history. Yeah.
And the rest is history.
I remember at Hal's event, I did a guided meditation on intimacy with money. So that does ripple into our business relationships. I'm certainly not like an MBA or any of that type of thing, but if we can't receive money, if we can't receive love, if we can't receive the moment, all the business coaching in the world doesn't matter because we're just going to repel it. So do you remember, I think it was only our second, well, you missed our second session because you fell off the friggin' wall and broke your body. And I'm so sorry that I was so snarky in my email. I'm like, we have 24 hours cancellation policy or you forfeit your session. And then you're like, I'm in the hospital. So I'm sorry that I was a little snarky. I'm like, I've got to train my clients, when they come on to make their appointments. But when we did get back together, do you remember that session when you weren't in your body? And I helped you. And
I do.
Tell us about that.
Oh. They say you don't remember what people do or say, but you remember how they make you feel. And so what I remember is the feelings. One, I remember not being surprised when you told me that I wasn't present in my body, having realized that I had been abandoning my body most of my life at that point. So the processes that you took me through to reconnect and then find not only a lack of avoidance, but willingness and joy in reconnecting with my body so that I could be happy here and fully experience myself. At that point, I was starting to get ready to go into physical therapy. I think I only had a month and a half left in my wheelchair at that point. Like it was, it wasn't the most pleasant body to come back into, right? So, just to allow all of that and be okay to sit with it and be with my body. And I don't think I've left it since, not completely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know what's going to happen on a session, Lauri, and the trauma of losing your friend and all of those years of addiction, leaving with alcohol or drugs, and then the trauma that you had just gone through in the accident. I just want to reflect that you're not bad or wrong that you weren't in your body. You were just trying to survive. When we disassociate, we're just having this respite because we just fucking can't handle the intensity of it all. And I'm so grateful that we have been on a journey to gracefully, bravely get you back in so that you can experience that I can do hard things. I can experience atrocious pain and I can stay in my body and be with my soul and be with my heart open. And also, so that's the hard part. And then the other part, the pleasure and the joy gets richer. And the juiciness gets richer and the dancing is more delicious when we're in our body rather than just quote unquote doing the moves. So I honor you so much. I can only take people as far as they're willing to go. And you are one brave badass. So thank you. Yeah. Take us to another session. I can't remember. It's maybe like 4 or 5 after that one, when we really started to talk about your relationship at the time. And I was going through like your 5, I think we call them deal breakers, sacred deal breakers of what, even if you weren't dating, this is what you would have chosen for you, the kind of relationship you were committed to, and then what the results were, and then what you chose. Again, very brave.
I like to say you fucking tricked me because you didn't tell me what I was doing till it was over. I keep my notes. I haven't looked at that one in a long time, but the process of looking at all of the things I swore I would never do again after getting out of relationships in the past. I would never be with a guy that did this, and I would never be. What was it that I wasn't getting that fed me, that made it possible for me to leave those relationships? And to identify those, so that I could identify what it was that I choose to have that are so important to me that it's worth completing a relationship and moving on.
Right.
And then we rated them
Yeah.
That's where you forgot to tell me I was going to have to rate my current relationship. And I think my relationship at that point, we were at like a 1.5 out of 5 on most of them, like a 2 or 3 out of 5 or 10. I can't remember what the rate. We were way under 5 out of 10. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
Pretty much across almost everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not what I want. And so it took a couple months to build my courage
And
to
digest the news. But
digest.
how wonderful that you could now go, oh, that's why I'm unhappy. That's why I'm unfulfilled. That's why I don't feel safe. That's why I don't feel seen. Like we re-ranked them. And I think there was only one out of the 5 important things that was strong, but the other ones were weak. So now you don't have to blame him. You don't have to blame you. It's just like, here it is. Yeah. Please keep going. Yeah.
Sure. And for me, that was huge in many ways. One, my MO is to stay so long that I hate them so that it doesn't hurt me to leave.
Oh, babe.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because as long as I hate you, then I don't have to care how you feel when I tell you to go fuck off. Right.
Right.
So, and I wasn't there. Right. I didn't hate him.
Right.
Right. I still cared for him deeply, which is why I'm still there.
Right.
And then you helped me through the process of what that conversation was going to look like, right? As I decided that it was time to have that conversation.
The role play.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we did that. And so when I sat with him, it was really powerful. It was very sad, painful, but it was real. This is where I'm at. If I stay here in this house with you, I will get to that point where I tell you to go fuck off and I will never talk to you again. But we always swore that our friendship was the most important. If what you need is this, great. That's not who I am. This is what I need. And if you're not willing to work with me to get there, that's okay too. Right? That you are who you are. I am who I am. And we're no longer meeting in a place that makes us both happy. And so I bought a new place and moved out a couple of months later. And we continued. He wanted to work on it. It woke him up a little. He said he wanted to work on it. And so from our separate locations again, and we had both lived alone for a long time. So for us, that's kind of like our own space, or, come back together and date again, like we had in the beginning. And that worked for a little while. Old habits are really hard to break. And I continue to do my work with you, and I was hitting deeper and deeper levels of my trauma and my intimacy and who I am. And so it would have been almost a year later, when we had been trying, and just everything just kept kind of falling back into the same old patterns, that I just let him know, and that it wasn't working, us being in a relationship the way it was. It still wasn't working. Things had not changed enough for us to come together in a way that was meaningful. And that was, again, a really hard conversation that you helped me have. Painful, difficult, challenging, but it wasn't one that I was used to, right? Neither one of these conversations, because of the man he is and the work I had done, were respectful and thoughtful. Not that there wasn't, some of that going, it's a hard conversation. So we separated as a couple.
Yeah.
But we still had our daughter, Heather. And at that time, we had both granddaughters. The second one had been born while I was in the wheelchair. So and so we all came together as a family, right? We did family meals together. We did family camp out. Like, that was really important for both of us. One of those values that we really held sacred was that we needed, that it was important for our friendship to be seen, and that we stay together as a family and show that consistency.
Yeah.
And so we did that for the next couple of years.
Yes. One question, then I want to go to what happened in Mexico at the retreat.
Yes.
When you had those initial conversations with him, those two hard conversations, did you share the specific list of these are my values and this is what I'm looking for? Because what I find a lot of time with gentlemen, if we just say, I just want to be loved more, they're like, what? Like they don't get it. But if we could be very specific with what it looks like and what the practices are, they could actually have a goal to work towards and reach it. So I'm very curious, did you share with him the 5 deal breakers or specifically what was missing for you?
I did. I was pretty specific, and which I think was very helpful for him, because one of the big things was listening to your podcast, really diving into this intimacy, hearing couples share on your podcast about how a relationship could be,
Yeah.
and so I was really clear about that. I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. Somebody that can meet me not just to go ride a bike or go snorkeling or go travel, which we were all very good at, right? Like that was, he's a very physically active person. That's his go-to. That's his sacred place, right? That's where he recharges. And so we're really good at that. We travel well together. We do the family thing like we have, but to grow with me. And at that point I had started growing away from and not together.
Yeah.
So I was really, really clear about that I needed that spiritual, emotional connection. I needed somebody that was willing to get vulnerable with me and talk to me and share values and talk about what the future, like all of those things.
Yeah.
So I was very clear about that. And then I stepped back.
Yeah.
And I let him do his thing.
Yeah.
And I could see as we were, spending time together as friends, I could see how that changed for him as that slow progress, as he started to pick up what he calls his path. Like I lost my path and I'm back on my path.
Oh.
And so he's really been doing all that work for himself last couple of years.
How brave of you to have that healthy, self-loving boundary and to give him space and to let go of attachment and to remember you are the love of your life and to fall even more madly in love with you. Because what in my chronological memory of our delicious dance together, we were in Mexico 1, 2, 3 retreats ago. And I never know what's going to happen. But something massive went down, and the power of the community to, I'll say, amp it up and support you and witness was motherfucking transformational. I couldn't have planned it ever. And it was epic. And it was such an honor to love you that deeply. Oh my God. Yeah. Tell them what happened.
So at the end of the day, in your retreat, we like to do a round of, what is it that came up for you? And we were doing the exercise around what it is that irritates us in our partner is what irritates us about ourselves, something along those lines.
Yep.
I don't remember exactly how we got there. And I was partnered with one of the other females at the retreat. And I said, I'm angry. I'm angry at myself for letting myself fall. Like it was my fault. My rock climbing accident was my fault. I had not clicked into my safety. I went halfway up the wall. I missed a move. I came off the wall and I hadn't used my safety, which makes it my fault. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't present. I wasn't present with my body, right?
Yeah.
Like absolutely 100% was not present with my body at the time.
Yeah.
And so I came up to this anger, and you asked me to express it to her, like we were gonna, and her and I are like holding hands for being all, and you were like, no, you can't hold that aspect hand. That's the you that you're mad at. You're not holding her hand. Get angry at her, yell at her. And I tried and I tried and I could not.
Express.
And you're like, okay, well, turn around and yell at me. And I'm like, trying, and I said some stuff that was, like, fuck you and blah, blah, but it didn't really feel right. And you're like, no, tell me more. I'm like, there are no words for what I'm feeling inside.
Yeah.
It was past the point. Language is a very poor communicator, unfortunately. And so you brought me into the circle of the glorious men that were at the retreat. There were 6 of them, I believe, if I remember correctly. And you had me stand in the center of the room, surrounded by the masculine, and you had them hold me.
Yeah, your arms were out,
Gently,
forward.
arms outspread. They held my arms, my shoulders. And I honestly don't know. There were 6 of them. I don't know how they all got their hands on me, but they did. And then you stood in front of me and you asked me to just come at you with all the anger that was inside of me. And there was an explosion, an absolute explosion of yelling, no words, screaming, no words. And I felt very weak, but I was giving everything I had, like trying to get to you. I was yanking on my arms. I was running with my feet. The men were holding me.
Yeah, holding you
And
back.
I knew they were there. It was a transformational experience on so many levels. One, to be able to freely release anger, which I had never been given permission to do in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've always been afraid of my anger, always afraid it would hurt somebody. And to be able to release that freely, safely, without judgment was beyond a breakthrough that I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And then to allow that to just expend itself to the point where I was empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to come home with you and sit in your lap and have you express requesting forgiveness from that aspect, right? Like, and to come home to love and acceptance, and it's okay.
Yeah. Just for the viewers and the listeners. So she was literally leaning forward. The men were holding her back, and she was just like unleashing everything. I'm going to say decades. I'm going to say anger at everyone who ever done you wrong, even probably at God. I don't even know, but like rage and fury and beyond. And then you were done and you sat down, and I became the part of you who didn't put the safety in the wall. And I started to apologize. I started to say, I'm so sorry that I've caused all of this pain in your body, and all being in the wheelchair, all of it. Like, I just totally owned and apologized for everything. And I crawled into your lap, and we, like my legs went over her legs, and our chest was against each other's chest. Our hearts were against each other's hearts. And I just sobbed with you, and you forgave me. You forgave yourself. And we cried and we embraced, and everyone in the whole room was around us holding space. I mean, I'm crying right now thinking about it, Lauri. It was so incredibly profound. What was it like for you, that next step to forgive yourself?
It was, I don't even know how to describe that. I remember standing up and thinking, wow, like my body had released so much pain that the pain I had felt up to that point because I'm kind of always in a little bit of pain in my ankles and my legs, my feet. And, but so much of the intensity it just released to feel lighter. I will say there were a couple of months after that where I might've been, a little bit, freer with my anger, and then like suddenly I'd been given permission. Yeah. Like you pissed me off. Don't fucking do that. But the other part that I want to make sure that I touch on for me that was also so powerful leading into the next retreat, and also in my relationship with myself and with Darren, is that part of where the men were holding me.
Yeah.
And at one point during that process, when I was yelling at the top of my lungs, you had everybody join me.
Yes.
And to hear the masculine roar of anger behind me, and it wasn't directed at me, it was directed for me.
Oh God. Yeah. 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 The protectors. Yeah.
Was unbelievable. And I had a couple of guys come up after the men come up to me afterwards, who are all now my brothers. Like, you cannot go through that. And be like, are you okay? Do you have bruises? Did we hurt you? And I'm like, I couldn't even feel you guys. Like, I knew you were there, but I couldn't feel you like physically. I just felt their presence. And for the first time, probably ever, like that complete trust and faith in the masculine and what it is supposed to feel like to be supported and protected and held up was mind-blowing.
Wow.
Mind-blowing. And it just shifted everything inside of me. Everything.
Wow.
From that point forward.
Oh.
To be able to recognize that and allow that and accept that and see that in the men that are around me on a daily basis, you know. Not just the men that were there, but as I moved forward.
Wow. What a gift from the abusive relationships or the misused patriarchal society growing up that you grew up in, to have that embodied experience, but then be able to take it with you. So now you can receive noble, masculine protection, support. Oh, how, let's just pause there for a second, because that's so huge and so beautiful. And I was on the receiving end of all of that masculine rage, which I'm unfortunately kind of used to. And so I'm having a moment of like envy. I'm like, oh, I want to know what that feels like. I was just used to the other kind. So thanks for that reflection. And I'm going to call that forth in some way so that I can feel that in my bones of that noble masculine protection. Yeah. Thank you, sister. And let's move through Heather and then Darren and then the kids.
Yeah.
So I heard from someone and I called, and I believe you picked up, and one of the girls was in your lap, sleeping, I believe. Tell us how you got through that, honey.
So Darren works out of town when he works. When he works, he's working and he's out of town. And when he's home, he's not working and he's home all the time. Unfortunately, that means for him, he gets a lot of bad phone calls when he's at work and out of town. So it was a Friday. I was picking up the girls to watch them so that Heather could finish her clinicals. She'd just finished her CNA 2 classes to be a nurse. And about an hour before I was supposed to pick up the girls, an hour and a half, I get this strange message from some dude I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It ends up that she OD'd and was taken to the hospital. And I had to call her dad. It's a 2.5 hour drive away. I was in the hospital long enough because I had to go pick up the girls. I was in the hospital long enough to find out that there was no hope, that her brain was non-responsive. They had just gotten her out of the MRI to confirm that. And she only had just enough brain function left to keep her heart beating. So I had to call her father and tell him on the phone. And then I had to go pick up her daughters and act like nothing was going on. So we figured out what the heck was going on. You know, and I'm fortunate. I have an amazing family and I have an amazing community here. And people stepped up. I had a family come and stay here at the house with the girls to watch them while we spent the next 4 days off and on, mostly at the hospital, making decisions around organ donor and when we were going to take her off, or what, you know, how all that looked. So we chose to donate her organs. And then that Sunday, we chose for Monday afternoon that we were going to take her off so we could be there with her when they took her off the life support. And Sunday, The youngest was 2.5 at the time. She's going to be 3 in a couple of days. So, and the oldest is 6. And so that Sunday we took the 6-year-old to the hospital.
Yeah.
So that she'd tell Mom goodbye.
Oh, Lauri.
So
Just to stay there, we don't skip over shit around here. Take us into that moment as you're feeling it right now. What were you feeling, honey?
horrified,
Yeah.
sorrow for her,
Yeah.
intense desire for it not to be true for her,
Yeah.
followed up by, the intense desire to make it as good as it can be,
Right.
take care of her and protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And how did you share with everyone how you began to integrate? Okay, I had a totally different life plan. I did not plan at this age to now raise a 2 and a 6-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and navigate with the children's father and at the time friend, but now reunited beloved Darren. Like, tell us how it's all unfolded.
Sure. It's well, it's still unfolding.
Yes.
uh there are there's all kinds of stuff that goes with that. Darren and I were moving into retirement. I was supposed to be retiring from not from being a designer, because I am an interior designer. Like, that's who I am. That's
Yes.
what I do, and I will never stop doing that. But just the daily W-2, and moving into this next phase where I can travel when I want and go do what I want and when I want, right? This is the time of life you're supposed to be able to do that. So there's a lot of mixed emotions around that, right? Like, there's anger, there's frustration, there's irritation, there's what the fuck, this was the plan, goddamn shit, fuck, motherfucker, right? Like, all of that stuff. And I immediately, like, from the very first day that I went to see Heather in the hospital and we had the girls, I moved back into the house that I had moved out of. So now I'm back in Darren's house. This is the house that he raised Heather in.
Right.
And so, and we've got the girls. And at the time all that happened, we thought we were going to have them full time.
Yeah.
We were not sure whether their father was going to be capable or able or willing to take them at any point.
Yeah.
And we've very happy that he has absolutely stepped into his role as father. He also has a 12-year-old daughter that he had just gotten full custody of. So now he has 3. He's a single father of 3 girls. And the process that the same processes that I've used to have the conversations with Darren, learning how to communicate with people without making it personal, more concerned, more goal-oriented towards best case scenario solution, approaching everything with love, and open-hearted, like, anything's possible. So let's just let it be possible.
Yeah.
And all of that has come true. So what we're doing is, I don't know if you call it shared parenting or what, but we have the girls 3 days a week, and then they go home with their dad on the weekends.
Wow.
And which is a blessing in many ways. It allows us, all of us, a little bit of breathing room, right? And uh, so yeah, so just learning how to take care of a toddler and a 6-year-old and chasing them around, and the energy that takes is unbelievable. Life affirming. uh, I am reminded daily with my 6-year-old, like how to create magic again, right? You
Yeah.
know, she's one of those very creative imagination, which just helps me remember that that's who I am. That's who I want to be, is that creating magic and wonder all around me. Like, you never know what's possible unless you allow and stay open to the possibilities.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and so we plan adventure differently right now because we don't know what it's going to look like.
Right.
And so I get to put some things on hold for a little bit, or, figure things out. So that's what we're doing. And a couple of months of living together, and both Darren and I having the opportunity to see how we show up
Yeah.
when it really matters,
Exactly.
right? All the decisions that go with um, the burial and the service and the, what to do with stuff. And oh my God, all the things that we had to go through for the, month or two after
Totally.
making all those decisions. I cannot talk about pre-planning enough. Pre-planning, pre-planning,
Mm.
pre-planning.
Mm.
Nobody does it. And it's one of the kindest, most gentlest, loving things you can do for your family.
Yes.
Obviously at 27, she didn't think that was necessary, but
Sure.
Um, and that's the unfortunate thing, is that a lot of us do that. So there's a lot of, questions and decisions and days right in the midst of the worst of your grief, and just
Totally.
trying to grasp this concept that shouldn't be true, that's true.
Mm.
And so Darren and I were able to hold each other up and be present for each other, and show up for us, for the girls, allow people to care for us when that was needed.
Yeah.
Um, and which is difficult for both of us to do.
Receive.
Receive, yeah. And now 6 months later, feeling like, I don't know what my life has shown me. There is no such thing as normal.
Yeah.
There's just what's next. And so for right now, we've found a rhythm, finding more rhythm, and yeah, and
Lauri, how did you
uh,
decide that you would shift it from co-parents, co-grandparents now living together to saying, okay, we're also going to do take two with our romantic relationship?
sure.
Clearly your communication skills allowed for the father to be seen and supported, to step up. I so honor that, because that was a make or break moment, and all that you've learned in how to communicate with yourself, how to communicate with Darren, was now able to communicate with him. Bravo. And I understand you're also doing grief counseling as a family. Like, you're taking these extraordinary steps. You're receiving from your friends, our coaching community, receiving love from the coaching community. I'll talk about that in a minute. But what was the moment when you knew, not thought, but knew in your bones, in your soul, in your hips, okay, under the worst of circumstances, I've seen how this man shows up, and I'm choosing to be a beloved again? Tell us about that moment.
Sure. For Darren, it's never been a question. We'll clarify that. He tells me all the time, I've always known this is where we're going to be. We're soul, his soulmates is the word he likes to use. We're meant to be together. It's always been meant to be. He's just been patiently waiting for me to catch up to him, kind of thing.
That was our
There was, in those couple of months, aside from just being able to see him, the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. Like, previously, stress inducing moments had not brought us closer. They had torn us further apart. And that was not the case. So to see the evidence of the work that he had been doing show up and become real,
Wow. Bravo.
And then on top of that, the work that I had done around the sacred masculine, around allowing that was even a possibility, right? I've always kept this barrier between me and that. Like I'm independent. I do what I want. Don't cross this, like there's always been like this wall, even in love, even in relationships, a wall from letting in all the way.
Wow.
We had a weekend of Thanksgiving where we were supposed to take the girls to go see my family. And the father at the last minute backed out. He was still living in some fear that we were going to try and take the girls from him, and he didn't want them to go with us. And so, which we have all passed since then, which is nice. But it was an 8-hour drive one way. And Darren and I spent the entire drive there and the entire drive back listening to podcasts, and then like pausing. Like it would take us 3 hours to listen to a 1-hour podcast, because we would
Yeah.
pause it and we
Yeah.
would talk about what came up.
Brilliant.
And then we would listen, and then we would pause. And so we hit these levels of intimacy that we had never gone into before, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from that process, like there were things at that point, because of the work I had been doing, where I was able to open up in some spaces and share some things with him, that I had never shared before, that I had never opened up before, to allow that this could actually be real.
Dating him that whole time, you hadn't expressed that.
No,
Wow. Beautiful.
no. And
Well,
it might be kind of important, if you're going to be intimate with a partner, to let them know that you've had sexual trauma, and that affects how you show up, right?
right.
So
Wow. So you've never
uh
told him that.
no. And
Did
so
he sense, you spoke of this wall and the work that we've done with the masculine, the feminine, the trauma integration, the getting in your body, all the things. Could he tell that your wall was coming down or had come down? Did he actually articulate it? Did he say, like, I can be there for you more, you can receive me more? You're like, how did it affect, how did he notice it? What was it like for him, the change in you?
he well, for him, he was very grateful
Hmm.
that I was sharing with him. We had great conversations happen in the car. I don't know why, but that's what it is. Kind of stuck with nothing else to do but talk.
Yeah.
And so, there was a very much days of, kind of filtering through that conversation and what it looked like, and gratitude that I had shared with him,
Yeah.
willingness to support me in whatever I needed to help heal that. And for me, that's how he showed up, right? Like, please tell me, you know,
Hmm.
let me know. I will start, and he started asking questions,
Wow.
and being present around that, and just being open to hearing what I have to say. And so I was able to even share, and in that situation, somebody that cares, it's a weird thing that I've learned, but somebody that cares for you that deeply, like they don't need the details, right? They need to know what is going to trigger me, so that we can work together to mitigate that in whatever way.
Yeah.
But they don't like to hear the details, because it's very painful for them to hear something, So, so yeah, so trying to like kind of figure all that out, and I'm still working. Like I got a lot of work to do around healing those traumas,
Mm.
and it's my work.
Yes.
And in the process, we just work together to, not re-trigger or re-traumatize. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as that happens, as I share, then we've come into this dance, and the number one thing that has come out of all of this is that we talk about all the time, is that if he and I don't do the work together, show up together, make specific time to connect, because of his work schedule, that's a very odd. Our schedule is different than most couples that live together. And so we get these huge chunks of time together, but they're only a couple of days a month, and then that's it. And so to do the work. Because if we don't do that, then we absolutely can't show up for the girls.
Yeah.
We can't show up for each other. We can't show up in our own life.
Yeah.
And then we get back into that cycle where we're only showing the worst parts of what it's like to be in a relationship.
Right.
And that's also something that I refuse to teach the girls. I do not want them to grow up learning that. So,
Oh, babe.
yeah.
You are ending ancestral patterns. You are creating that delicious freedom that comes out of structure and that sacred discipline. You have gone through the very worst, the very worst, the very worst, and you continue to blossom into this most glorious, powerful goddess. And I want to thank you for being so vulnerable and transparent with our community as well, with our group coaching, our inner circle. As we begin to wrap up this conversation, what would you say has been the value? Because when it first went down with Heather, you weren't on the call that week, and I let everybody know and let them process, because it's a shock. And what to say is not one of humanity's general superpowers when there's been a tragedy. And I certainly don't want someone's best intentions to fuck shit up and make you feel even worse. So I was the space to help them all integrate, so that when you did come on the call the next time, you didn't feel weird. Nobody tried to say something stupid like, oh, it's going to be fine or whatever, right? Like, I'm sure you've had the gamut of comments of people's just validated discomfort. They just don't know what to say. If you've never been trained, if you've never learned how to sit in the fire, if you've never learned how to lean in and keep your heart open, if you're not even vulnerable with yourself, you don't have a hope in hell of being that with each other. So honest feedback. I did my best in one session to help them integrate so that they could be this safe place for you to land, where you could say maybe what you couldn't even say to other people who were coming by, and you felt really seen and held. Did that occur? How was it for you?
First call back
Yeah.
was, yeah. One, I love our community.
Yeah.
So I don't feel there was ever any doubt that I would have that safe place when I came back.
Oh, thank you for that.
And the need to do it quickly. Like, I didn't wait weeks. Like, I missed the 1 week, but then I was immediately back the week after that, because I know from our work together, I know from the years of being part of this community that that's one of the ways they can support me.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's what I felt, was the freedom to let out all the stuff that was going on in my head, how I was feeling, to release that in a place of non-judgment, safety, welcoming community. Absolutely super powerful and wonderful, and it continues to be so. Like, there's so many people that, randomly check it. What was it they asked? What can we do? And we just randomly text me a message and say hello. Yeah. If anybody's curious, the two worst things you can say is, one, how are you? Because we don't fucking know. And I have to say, the one person I almost, I'm not a violent person, but I
You almost
really,
dipped them.
oh my God. I'm like, and it was only a week and a half after she passed. And somebody came up to me and gave me a big hug. Said, oh, don't worry, she's in a better place. Like,
Fuck you.
fuck yeah. Like, you know what, you want to come say that to me a year later, I get it, whatever, if it makes you feel better. But, just a hug. Just a hug, and I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
The best thing that you can do.
Yeah. Or even just the honesty of, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I have a very dear friend of mine, lost his daughter 20 years ago today, actually.
Wow.
As a baby, and he and I talk a lot. But I asked him shortly after that, I'm like, how the hell did you not punch people when you were there?
Right. Yeah.
And I get it. People are uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. It's something that is so horrifying that they want to, like, avoid however that makes them feel, because everybody, like, right, one of your biggest fears, you talk to any parent,
Yeah, exactly.
fear is losing a child. So It's all
Ah,
of that. It's all of
yeah,
that. But we're getting through.
beautiful. I'm so glad that you already knew it was a safe place to come, and that it was that non-judgmental place for you to unleash and be absolutely held and never judged. Um, Two last questions, my love, because we could talk for 3 hours, and we
Yeah.
often do if we're at a retreat or what have you. What would you say to someone listening who is considering doing some sort of personal growth work around whatever issues they have? What has your experience been with me and with this community? What would you say to them?
Um, it sounds cliche, but it's so worth it. Like the freedom to be me, the freedom to feel my worth, the ability to let go of the old bugaboos,
Yeah.
whether it's trauma, self-deception, self-sabotage, all the lies we tell ourselves, all of the negativity that we bring from our past into our present, which affects our future, like the ability to move through that. And honestly, and I've done a lot of growth work. I've
Yeah.
done a lot of growth work. And this is on a level I've never experienced before. To
Thank
get through to the other side in such a way that you feel not just this,
you.
right?
Not just the mind.
Like just not just the mind. Like I can tell myself these things all day long, but to actually just all the way in my gut
Embodied.
feel in my body again and happy to be there. And 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 excited and anticipating the next process that will take me even further into myself and further explore all that I can possibly be. Um, yeah, I just continue to be excited about what's up next. What's
Hmm.
up next? What can we do next?
Oh,
So
thank you. I'm
yeah,
so looking forward to what blossoms with you and Darren. I'm so grateful. Even the title of this podcast, Anxiety, How Fear Paralyzes Intimacy. Fear, we can't escape fear, but it doesn't paralyze you, Lauri. And you've
yeah,
had all these tough conversations. Um, and even around deliciousness with Darren and listening to podcasts and pressing pause, like it can be a tough conversation or a delicious conversation that we're afraid to have. And you're having them all, and you're showing the girls healthy, present love, and you're being there for them. I so respect you. I so love you. You are such a cherished part of this community. Uh, Thank you for allowing me to walk with you. Yeah. And in conclusion, I want to tell people all about your skills as this interior designer. Literally, you're rebuilding a kitchen for one of our inner circle members.
I am. I am
Yes.
on Zoom, even on
Oh my God.
Zoom. So I'm in Oregon,
Yeah.
and this house that I'm working on for them is in Utah.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of Zoom and videoing of the house, but technology makes so many things possible now.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, we're having a really great time. A
So
really great time.
what's your perfect like if someone would call you and it's like your ideal project that just lights you the fuck up, what would that project be? And I want people to know how to find you as well. So tell them your website as well
Sure.
for
It's
Mhm.
ladydesigninteriors.com is and design is spelled DZIGN.
I'll put it all in
And
the show notes, people, but
yeah. Um, and I also have a special offer for anybody that wants a 30-minute Zoom consultation for free, and my free ebook on 7 tips on how to create your kitchen oasis remodel or something like that. So
oh, fantastic.
I've
Thank you, sir. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's so nice of
yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
So what's your ideal project? Yeah.
I love kitchens. I love to cook for one. I love food for two. And so I love the kitchen. It's such a place of historically, my minor's in architecture history, and historically, food is where we create community.
Yeah.
The family dinner. When you get together with friends, you go out to eat. Like, food is a communal event in so many cultures, and America has gotten away from that a lot, I think, in general. And I know that's a huge generalization, but I see it around me a lot. You go to other cultures, and not only do you go out to eat, but you eat out in public on the streets, the people going by, so you can say hi to your friends that are passing by, so that you can, right? Like, it's a community event.
Yeah.
So for me, the kitchen is a place where we get to create that community. And if you're irritated at one, I've been in kitchens that I hated cooking in, and guess what? I don't cook. I don't
Right.
cook. I avoid it, right? And so to have a space that invites you in, that is not only convenient, like, creating convenience is huge. Like, it should work with how you cook. Not everybody cooks the same. And so that's the first thing is, and then allowing you to do it with joy and love, which affects the food that you provide for the people that you care about, right? And your own body, for that matter, um, that's my favorite thing in the whole world, is to do that. And my second favorite thing is, we had I still work in a showroom, and we had a client come by. They were just there to pick out a bathroom countertop,
Uh-huh.
and she was so stressed out. And people get stressed by the amount of decisions that you have to make when you're remodeling or creating a new space.
Sure.
Like, it becomes overwhelming for many, many people. And she's like, well, we've picked this for the floor, and I don't know what to pick for the countertop. And I'm thinking, well, what color is a cabinet? She's like, I think it's green. It's going to be green. Have you picked the paint color yet? No. And you could tell she was just like,
Losing her
just
shit.
too much. It's just too much. I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to do this. This is the countertop you're going to get. She's like, I was looking at that. So that's the countertop you're going to get. She's like, okay, perfect. I said, and then we're going to go inside and have a paint deck, and I'm going to help you pick the green for your cabinet before you leave. And by the time they left, she was in tears and giving me a hug. Like, that's my favorite, like 15 minutes, because for me, it's easy and joyful. For her,
Yes.
it's very difficult and horrible.
Yes.
Right. And for her to be so relieved to not have to make any more decisions, and to just be able to sit back and let people do what they do. That is, for me, one of the greatest joys is, because I'm inside people's lives, right?
Yes.
I'm in your house. I have to ask intimate questions about how you use your space. And so when you get that close and intimate with people, it's a little scary for them. And for me, it's just an utter joy to be on the other side of it and hear that I love it every day. I love it.
We're the same. We both just hold space and have we're the space holders of those difficult conversations, right?
Yeah.
You're creating the sacred space on the outside, and I'm creating the sacred space on the inside. So beautiful. Oh, I cannot wait till I have a house where I can hire you to do all the things. So it's coming down the pike, sister. All right.
Absolutely.
So everyone, in the show notes are her site, so that you can take advantage of her offer to have a 30-minute consultation of whatever project you need support with, all the way from the new bathroom counter all the way to a whole brand new kitchen or more. You've heard a lot of difficult things today, and then this brave woman has gotten through. So whoever's listening or watching, you too can get through brave things, or get through difficult things bravely. And I'm going to say, doing it alone is hard.
Yes.
And I shudder to think, had you not done any of this deep work when you had your accident, when Heather died, navigating the relationship, the kid's father, all these things. So the benefit is incalculable of the difference you've made to all the people in your life that you've touched, and to our inner circle community. And now to the internet, to the world,
To the internet.
now to the internet. So I want those of you that have been watching or listening, thank you for being with us for this, a little almost over an hour now. Thank you. I'd like you to still take 5 more minutes when you finish listening. And there's something that's moved you the most. Get out your journal, go for a walk, sit in meditation, let it move you all the way into an action to connect with Lauri, into an action to connect with myself, into an action to connect with someone who really matters to you, and some sort of action so that this conversation literally shifted the trajectory of your life. And I appreciate you for the honor of yet again here on Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine, the blessing of loving the shit out of you. Mwah. Until next week, Lauri and I love you.
I love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. As you heard from Lauri in the podcast, love really took a journey. And I want it to inspire you that when a relationship's phase has come to a completion and both people are not willing to grow together, and it's just no longer aligned with your deal breakers, your values, nothing's wrong. The relationship's sacred contract is complete. And not to go into conclusion that means it's over forever, but not to hang on desperately like it's still going to work out in the future. Like, complete it, be free, and be present. Because what an inspiring story that Lauri was willing to complete with her boyfriend when it truly wasn't a fit and it was holding them both back. And then she let go and she continued to do the work, but so did he. And then when the third tragedy occurred and they came back together as friends, he had done the work too. And now they're doing the work together. And now they're creating a future that I assert could never have happened had she not been so bold and honoring of herself and honoring of him to give him space as well. And they've come back together stronger than ever. We never know. That's why they call it the mystery, right? We never know. And so if you are having trouble even figuring out what the hell your deal breakers are or what you value, or you can't quite figure out why it's just not working and you can't get past this certain point as a couple, would love to decipher the truth, give you clarity, help you connect with your own soul's integrity and truth so you know the direction to head. If you want to work on it together, it's one of my favorite things. When I work with couples, I do a private for her, a private for him, and a couple session. Private for her, private for him. We just keep repeating. And you're a part of the community. And a retreat on top of that doesn't hurt, because those are epic and life-changing. And marriages, even after trying everything, being married for 19 years and really being on the brink of calling it quits, my intimacy retreat saved a marriage just this last February. And I've also supported couples in consciously completing in such grace and kindness and consciousness. It's for brave people to work with me because we go right to the truth. My clients say that, how is it that you're so kind and so straight? How is it that you're so intuitive and you can follow the energy and you know exactly what the block is? That's my superpower. It's why I'm different. I'm very, very good at what I do. Don't ask me to do your taxes. Don't ask me to cook for you. I can make mun big soup. My God, I think I'm on day 23 of my 28-day, whatever it is, Mother's Day. Anyways, in a couple more days, I'm shooting this video a couple days before Mother's Day, and I am going to have French fries. I'm not going to go totally crazy, but I'm thinking French fries and a salad, something like that, and beer. But don't ask me to cook. Don't ask me to cook. Allow me to give my genius to you and change your life forever from the inside out, so that the outside looks in alignment with your beautiful heart, soul, spirit, body, and mind. I love you.